Chapter 36. Sorry, I forgot that you have an illness. Lisa's mind went blank at that moment. It was only when she got seated in the helicopter that she jolted from her daze. Lisa was stunned. As she looked at the massive machine, she could not help but ask, Why? Why are we going to the hospital like this? James murmured from beside her. It's too far, this is faster. Lisa gazed at him. Actually, my injury isn't in need of such urgent attention. James stared at her with a perfectly serene expression. But you must know that I have other things to do tomorrow morning. If we travel there, it will take 1 hour and going. Back will take 1 hour. By the time we reach home, it will probably be dawn. The helicopter will be there in about 10 minutes, so be prepared. All right. Lisa gazed at James. She thought to herself, this was precisely the way the rich dealt with things. She had to get used to it as planned. They arrived on the top level of the hospital about 10 minutes later. James refused to let her move and carried her down first. He carried her all the way in before putting her down. While the doctor was examining her, Lisa felt slightly guilty. The doctor responded, What kind of pain are you feeling? It's just hurting faintly. She thickened her skin, not daring to look at James, who was standing to the side. She didn't want to meet his eyes. The doctor took a look and said, Miss Lisa, your wound isn't inflamed and there aren't any other symptoms either. So the pain may be psychological. Don't be distressed. Think of other things, perhaps you won't feel the pain anymore. The doctor had no choice either. He could only provide such a diagnosis. Lisa nodded her head vigorously. So that's why it hurts. As James was observing from the side, Lisa swiftly flashed a fawning smile. James' deep, black eyes shifted profoundly before he scowled at her. But he nonetheless remarked to the doctor to be on the safe side. We'll still stay here for one night. Lisa could only agree. The room was still the same kind of intensive care room as previously. James had made arrangements at the entrance, and exactly as he had thought. If they had brought the helicopter here and gone through the full experience, it would already be early daylight. Lisa sat there guiltily. She gazed at James' tiny lips squeezed tightly into a line. The lines of his jaw likewise followed suit, tightening fiercely. He seemed as cold as ice and incredibly difficult to approach. Against her volition, her heart beat faster in her chest. When she saw him turn back to gaze at her coldly, she quickly flashed a toady smile. It has been hard on you. Go to sleep quickly. James glared at her before sitting down. Lisa responded urgently. James, come over here. I want to talk to you. James snorted and sat there unmoved. Lisa steeled her mind and came down the bed directly. But when she slid down and her heels touched the ground, her thigh was strained and she began to suffer as well. She growled as she gripped onto her thigh, and nearly toppled. James' eyes darkened, tossing everything else aside. He rapidly walked over in a few steps. He put his arms out beneath her armpits and carried her directly. Lisa, why did you move recklessly for no reason? James was outraged. He had been so astonished by her previous actions that his heart had almost jumped out of his chest. Lisa was definitely hurting. Her brows were furrowed, and as a light shone on her, her little face crumpled up slightly. James held her up and stabilized her when he turned his head. His lips brushed against her earlobe. Her smooth and fragile earlobe even had some fine hairs on it. The delicate hairs reflected the light shining on them and looked really cute. This instantly messed up his cognitive process, and in response, he frowned and wanted to let go of the nasty woman. But just as he was ready to let her go, Lisa pulled his arm with both hands. James, stop being mad, she whispered softly and sweetly. She gazed at him with a clear glance, her expression particularly provoking his protectiveness. But James' gaze remained to rest on her ear thoughtfully as he glanced at her rounded, smooth, and little ear. He had the mad want to suck at her. Some unknown reason. Had his sickness already started progressing in the perverse direction? Why did his whole body boil up merely glancing at her little ear? He felt her hand still resting on his arm. The parts that she had touched heated up even more, leading him to feel so furious that he wanted to shrug her off. Let go of me, Lisa. His expression proceeded to darken even more. Seeing this, Lisa got more nervous. Don't be angry. James, hubby, don't be furious. Don't be angry when a married couple quarrel. Shouldn't they eventually reconcile? Don't be furious anymore. Lisa had truly put all of her skills to use as she attempted to soften this harsh man. However, James' expression did not improve. The original gloominess on his face was now tinged with some red instead. It looked as if he was incredibly angry, and it worried Lisa so much that her voice got slightly weaker. Hubby, don't be angry, on account of me being so sad that I can't get down from the bed. She hugged one of his arms with both her hands, like a tiny child. She pouted with her eyes and looked sad as she shook his arm from side to side. As James listened to her more calm speech, he looked down at the arm that she was shaking. If he were to backhandedly grasp her hands and force her directly into the bed at this moment, she would actually tumble underneath him. He furiously resisted this impulsion that developed in his chest, but this filthy chick couldn't. She stay stationary for a bit and not swing around. Her swaying made his eyes all dizzy. Lisa, I said let go of me. Do you not understand? Feeling sad? James roared fiercely. Lisa took a glance at him. Was he genuinely enraged now? Immediately, she loosened both her hands, but she lost her equilibrium and promptly fell backward. Seeing this, James stretched his hand out and wrapped it around her waist. However, he was pulled down by her velocity. Facing the direction in which she was falling, he fell down together with Lisa. Lisa's eyes widened. She felt his delicate, thin lips crush roughly on her mouth. That attractive face swelled before her eyes, his cheeks flushed slightly crimson. Lisa felt a pain in her chest. She looked down only to see his chest pressing on hers instantly. Her face got crimson red also. This time, James could clearly feel her breasts on his chest. However, he looked at Lisa and immediately rolled to the side and rapidly separated himself from her body. His motions were as rapid as lightning. Lisa's heart was still thumping without rest because of the sudden close proximity he was in earlier. Seriously, it was unbelievable. She almost had the urge to kiss him earlier. Was she crazy? Her mouth was on the point of sliding closer to his. Was it because she had spent a long time together with him that it was difficult for her to resist the seduction of his beauty? Indeed, James was quite attractive and very seductive. Even the way he fell down earlier was insanely lovely. The perky shape of his lips was immensely alluring. But his heart belonged to someone else. Lisa was absolutely not the kind of person to violently take away the person someone else liked. Furthermore, James' initial reaction was plainly one of contempt. She instantly covered her lips with her palm, and remembered that he was allergic to ladies. No wonder he kept wanting to shove her away just now. Lisa hurriedly raised her head. Oh no, James, I'm sorry, I didn't do it on purpose earlier. I briefly forgot that you have an ailment. That's why I dragged you and refused to let go. James' countenance darkened, his gorgeous face rising slightly. The occasional touch is nothing. For real, just he gazed at her chest, unable to resist. He peered at it again. Lisa followed his stare, then blushed red. James moved his slightly crimson face aside and avoided her look. He responded coolly, the shape of your breasts is not bad. They're fairly peppy. So they definitely aren't artificial, he intentionally said in an indifferent tone. What the hell? Chapter 37, The Small Anticipation of Sleeping. On the same bed, of course, mine are completely natural. Why do I need to do surgery when they're shaped like peaches? They are neither too firm or too soft, and they are of a sufficient size. Furthermore, it's very clear if you've done surgery nowadays, if you lie down, you'll quickly be exposed. I'm telling you, they say that after lying down, prosthetic breasts won't get flat because they were built arched. James involuntarily gazed at her breasts again. He aggressively moved his attention and added, You sure know a lot. That's a given, Lisa said. I have a very extensive scope of knowledge. Saying this, Lisa stroked her leg strangely. James remembered that her leg had been hurting earlier, and was worried about whether she had touched it. He raised to say, All right, stop moving around and let me have a look at your leg. She sat on the bed while he squatted down halfway. He slid her pants aside and glanced at her wound. Afraid that it would hurt, he gently touched it. How is it? Lisa felt relatively good and did not really feel anything. It should be fine. It's only that when my foot rests on the ground, it pulls on the wound. So it hurts, James responded. Then you should stay still. Lisa thought, wasn't she just anxious earlier? Wasn't it his fault for abruptly neglecting her? James moved his head to look at her, but his stare was still set directly on her chest. He did not recognize this in the past. But only now did he suddenly sense that her breasts truly appeared quite appealing after staring at them from this viewpoint. They were totally symmetrical mounts, and they appeared round, plump, and attractive. They were neither big nor small and appeared like they were just the correct size to grasp in each hand. He thought about what she had said about them being in the shape of peaches. It appeared like they actually were as she had described, a little curious. He wanted to touch them in the flesh and see whether they really were as soft as she had promised. His region below his abdomen went stiff, and he instantly realized that his body had genuinely been aroused again. He stood up quietly, stiffened his face, and turned his head away, wondering what exactly was happening to him. Realizing that his look had darkened once more, Lisa assumed that his disease was flaring up again. She looked at him with small alarm and questioned urgently, "Why, James, is there something wrong? Do you need me to call the doctor? If I'd known earlier, I wouldn't have asked you to touch me, this silly woman." She assumed that he was consistently evading her due of his illness. However, his allergic reaction was secondary right now. His primary sickness was something else. It was something a little unexpected, and it made him rather irritable at the moment. He thought that he really wanted to carefully question Ryan now, and whether his original sickness had mutated so that there were other complications. Otherwise, why would he be feeling this way, not in the mood to bother with this silly woman? He turned his head and replied, "All right, I'm fine already. Go to sleep." Lisa asked then, "Can you still share a bed with me tonight? Or do you want to go out and sleep?" When he gazed at the bed, he felt a little reluctant to leave. It was only after some hesitation that he said, "It's already so late. Where else can I go to sleep?" "I'll just put up with it for a few hours," Lisa replied with an "oh," and made some space for him. It did not matter to her regardless. As long as he did not feel uncomfortable sharing the same bed as her, it was all right. Now, she had to consider the feelings of the patient. Even though it seemed that she was the one who had arrived to the hospital. Lisa lied down and placed the pillow in the middle again. As James stared at it, he pondered to himself whether the pillow actually served a purpose while it was there. However, he still did not share his thoughts. He realized that he truly felt a sense of small anticipation. If she fell asleep and started moving around again, would she suddenly sprawl out across his body? Then, he would be able to feel for once what exactly her reportedly peach-shaped breasts felt like. The two of them lay down on the bed together without switching off the light. She lay there toying with her iPhone. When it started ringing, she saw that someone had given her a friend request on WeChat. When she opened it, she noticed to her surprise that it was Nathan. She could not help but be slightly dumbstruck. Still, she hurriedly accepted the request. Once she accepted it, he quickly sent her a message and asked her, "So you haven't gone to sleep?" Lisa soon said, "Big celebrity Nathan. Why did you add me?" Lisa thought perhaps it was to talk about the scandal. So she inquired rapidly, "Is this about the scandal? Are you guys going to settle it?" She remembered that Nathan very infrequently had these kinds of rumors. Some individuals believed that Nathan was himself highly opposed to controversies. So whenever there were seeds of a rumor, he would begin to suppress them. Nathan instantly said, "Why do I have to deal with the rumors?" Lisa was a little flustered. "Of course you do. Did you not see how crazy they went in inventing a story? I saw it. Then why don't you deal with it? Dealing with it is useless, just disregard it. It'll be alright after a few days." This was rather different from Nathan's regular method of doing things, but they're very ridiculous. And they exaggerated it so much, it's not too good to allow all these rumors go around, Lisa said quickly. But Nathan said, "I don't even care." "Why do you care?" Frustrated, Lisa really wanted to chastise someone, of course. He did not care because he was not the guy being scolded. But she, on the other hand, had been scolded violently. It shocked her to the extent that she could not dare access her Weibo profile. The moment she opened it, there was a tidal wave of curses, each harsher than the one preceding it. "No way, big celebrity Nathan, you must save me. If you don't go out and settle it, this problem will undoubtedly continue to worsen," Lisa quickly said. Still, Nathan continued to reply monotonously. "How will it worsen? I believe it's pretty good nonsense. I've been scolded so harshly. They'll stop after scolding for a few days." "No way." Gradually, Lisa had unwittingly become incredibly casual when speaking to him. "In that case, why don't I post on Weibo tomorrow and say don't curse at her anymore. If there's anything you would like to say, direct it at me instead. When Lisa saw his remark, she nearly fainted. Then they'll curse at me even more harshly. Then what do you want me to do? Just say that we're merely friends from the same cast and that we've known each other for a few days. Say that they're just constructing a story from the images and that everything they stated is a lie. This was the truth regardless. Unexpectedly, Nathan said instead. But what if we really get together in the future and these reports come out? Wouldn't we be hitting our own faces? Hello? Who would actually want to be together? With you? Of course we won't be together, don't worry. You definitely won't be slapping yourself on the face, Lisa said quickly. Nathan quickly emailed her a weeping emoticon. It hurts me when you do this. If it hurts you, it hurts you. In any event, you must settle this properly for me. Seriously. How do you know if you'll regret being this heartless to me today and the future? Who knows whether or not you'll suddenly fall for me in the future and passionately want to marry me? Get lost? That's impossible. Lisa gazed at his response wordlessly. She realized that he was doing this purposefully to tease her. He would not handle the problem correctly. So she straightforwardly sent him this: go and die. Don't interrupt my sleep. Thereafter, she just ignored him. Chapter 38. Unexpectedly, he felt disappointed. Lisa was in emotional turmoil. She did not know how she could even step out of the house tomorrow. She took one last look at her Weibo. To her amazement, her fan count had increased by tens of thousands in a short time. However, she did not need to think to know that these were probably all haters. Lisa could only sigh and put her phone down. James frowned from the side. If you're going to sleep, don't play with your phone anymore, Lisa answered. I just took a glance. I'll sleep soon. She laid on her side, facing James. His eyes were already shut, even lying down. James's torso was totally straight. Every time Lisa gazed at him, she always felt as if he would not move at all in the night. Lisa gazed at his face, which was fully lighted beneath the dim flashing light. Only half of his body was covered by the blanket, so his firmly developed figure was precisely divided into two sides, one brilliant and one dark. The bright side shined with a bronze-colored sensuality and firmness, yet the black side inspired even more wild thoughts than the bright side. It looked to be bathed in a veil of faint, pinkish light. Its extravagance gave rise to a beautiful temptation. When he closed his eyes, his eyelashes appeared even longer in a way that aroused more delicate affections. His wonderfully sculpted lips were slightly perked up, and his jawline flawlessly delineated his handsome face in its whole, holding it out tallly. Below that magnificent face, the Adam's apple on his throat twitched slightly. Further below, his collarbones were in a position where they could be seen plainly. Even as he lay like this, their outline could be readily observed. Even further below, Lisa pulled her head away fast. This was severely fatal. She felt like she had become slightly seduced by his beauty. Looking at him like this, he was actually fatally sensual. Furthermore, she quickly remembered that this was her spouse. Although they were just married in name, he was indeed her husband at the very least. The law acknowledged this. However, it was a pity that he had another woman in his heart. She sighed before twisting her body around and lying down properly, with her nerves jangled. She did not truly sleep well. She was half asleep the entire night, but at the very least, she did not move again. Even James was amazed. He had initially anticipated that she would end up tossing and turning, attacking every single place of his body, but after waiting for quite some time, she did not move an inch. To his amazement, he had remained awake for quite some time since he had been prepared to be bothered by her, but she did not actually do it. James had no idea how he fell asleep, but he recognized that he genuinely felt a little sense of disappointment when he finally went asleep. The next day, the two of them returned home in a car. James said, "My family initially wanted to invite you home for a meal." Ah? Lisa glanced at him with amazement. With a leisurely smile, James remarked, "But I've already rejected them." Oh, she had been scared out of her wits. "Yes, if I go back now, I'll definitely be asked about the scandal. I wouldn't know what to say either. So it's better not to go back." James turned his head and peered at her, his expression as dark as ink. He stole a glimpse at her before he pursed his lips and turned back. After getting out of the automobile, James headed inside in huge steps. Lisa could only get into her wheelchair on her own. When the maid arrived to push her, Lisa raised her head and muttered, "Your sir is so troublesome." The maid smiled dryly, not knowing what she should reply. After Lisa finished tidying up, she rushed to the company. When she saw Sarah, she said frantically, "How are things, Sister Sarah? Have they been settled?" The moment Sarah saw Lisa, she walked over and said, "Yes, you don't need to be so anxious anymore. I saw that the news is being clamped down, for the time being. News of you and Nathan are prohibited from being published again. Yesterday's reports were all taken down too," Lisa said in surprise. "No way," Sarah said. "It looks like Nathan's side took action. Anyway, our company doesn't have that much power, nor does it have such powerful connections. It couldn't have closed down the news, thus it was likely Nathan's side that did it." Lisa responded in a perplexed tone. "But yesterday, Nathan even said not to deal with it." Immediately, Sarah looked at Lisa in disbelief. "When did he say that?" Lisa said. "Yesterday night. On WeChat." "Aya? You and Nathan even contact each other privately," Sarah added. Staring at Lisa with little intrigue, Lisa raised. "To add, of course not. He just joined my WeChat. It was probably about handling the scandal." Sarah gazed at her as if she was deliberately concealing something. She grinned and continued, "You really underestimate Nathan. He doesn't have to deal with these problems personally. He can just hand it on to his staff. Is that so?" Of course, Lisa was not like Sarah, who had a solid understanding of these prominent superstars in the entertainment world. Sarah stated, "Nathan is originally very difficult to get along with. Many people assume that he is difficult to approach. Furthermore, he surely will not have any contact with rookies." Why is it so different from the Nathan that I know?" Lisa said. "I think he's quite nice, and he has a very amusing way of speaking. He's simply a little sarcastic," Sarah said. "Is that so? Then, enjoy it yourself." When she was done speaking, she patted Lisa's arm heavily. Lisa shrugged her shoulders wordlessly. She thought to herself that it was probably because they had not been closely acquainted with him, that they had misunderstandings about him. After all, Sarah had absolutely never been in contact with Nathan before. She had simply asked around and heard about him. The more these rumors circulated around, the more exaggerated they always became. In any case, Lisa felt that this was undoubtedly the doing of Nathan's crew. After all, his crew would sooner or later be unable to put up with it. So after pondering for a moment, Lisa wrote him a WeChat message and said, "I see you've dealt with it. I'm really sorry about the scandal and thank you for being prepared to settle it." Surprisingly, this person Nathan seemed to be accessible all the time. His reply had already come up. Lisa saw that he had replied. "What did I settle?" Lisa asked. "Wasn't it your team that settled the scandal?" "Of course it wasn't." "Oh no. What a pity. I still wanted to watch it for a couple more days. Now it's gone." Lisa truly wanted to puke blood, go and die. Thank God. It has been retracted. So heartless. When she was done texting Nathan, Lisa snorted and put down her phone. But she thought that it was unusual. What exactly was going on? On the other hand, on James's side, Ryan bent his head and spoke to James, who was sitting in his executive chair. "Sir, we've settled the matter already. The reports have all been erased. Also, in the immediate future, there won't be any more reports made involving Nathan." James reacted tersely in agreement. Ryan remarked, "In that case, do we need to give a notice to Nathan?" To date, Nathan still did not know Lisa's identity, which was why such a misunderstanding had occurred. James pondered for a time. Forget it. If he knows, it's questionable if he'll stir up problems. Perhaps things will be more tranquil. If he doesn't know, Nathan was the most rebellious of the three brothers, and it was common for him to do whatever made others angry, Ryan answered. "Then if there's anything else, sir, I'll await your instructions again." "Wait a minute," James said. "Block out news on Nathan for 2 months so that he'll be more well-behaved." But even with this, James still felt uneasy letting him free without some punishment. Hearing this, Ryan could only say, "Yes, sir." It was only when Ryan left that James lowered his head to look at the article. Shown in the article was a picture of Nathan and Lisa in the same frame, talking and laughing together. It was really repulsive to the eye. Looking at it agitated him. He casually flung the article behind him. Frowning, he wondered, What awful judgment do these folks have? Do they appear like they might be together? Chapter 39. She was actually grieving. Over another man. Sure enough, the news gradually died down over the next days. However, the after effects continued. Lisa's Weibo page was still being overwhelmed with visitors. Contrary to predictions, her fan count had been constantly increasing, so at least she had not been scolded for nothing. She also had some renown as an actor for the first time, which qualified as her having some presence for the first time. Right at this moment, Lisa's stepmother abruptly gave her a call and said, "Your elder sister's engagement party with Ryan is this weekend. You can set aside some time to come, right?" Lisa's heart stopped. Were they going to be formally engaged? Her hand, which held her phone, trembled slightly. Still, she forced herself to put up a facade of tranquility. She said to Hannah through the phone, "Why do I need to go? Stepmother, are you inviting me right now?" Of course, she did not want to go. She did not want to return home to witness the disgusting faces of her family members, nor did she want to watch Ryan ultimately marrying someone else. Hannah snorted and replied, "Why? You dare not to come? Could it be that you still retain some sentiments for Ryan? If that's the case, all the more you should come. Come and take a look so that it's easier for you to give up completely, stepmother. I can't do anything about it either if you insist on putting it that way. Is it just my words, or is it actually what you're thinking inside? I noticed that you've really been working hard these several days to compete with Olivia. You even went to cotton up to Nathan so that you might be in the headlines. What a pity that Nathan could not be bothered with you at all. It took him barely 2 days to push down the news. Olivia's wedding this time will undoubtedly be in the headlines. It'll easily give you some opportunity to display your face. Won't you come and freeload for the main page?" As Lisa listened to Hannah's comments, she thought to herself that she had a tremendously rich imagination. Although she did not know if it was Nathan who had pushed down the news, she could confirm that Nathan was clearly not as Hannah had portrayed. Finally, Hannah said, "Anyway, it's up to you whether or not you want to come. If you really feel that you don't want to see Ryan marry Olivia, then don't come." Lisa listened as she hung up the phone. She sat there and inadvertently went into a trance for a long period. She sat there till James came in and spotted Lisa staring blankly ahead. He walked over to her and said, "What happened? Are you wounded anywhere?" Lisa gazed at James. "To be honest, I kind of sympathize with Emily." James' eyes was tumultuous as he glanced at Lisa. He did not know why she had suddenly brought up Emily. What happened to her? Lisa sat there embracing a cushion. "She will definitely be very sad to see me together with you. Watching someone she loves getting together with someone else, but not being able to do anything while still having to seem to be magnanimous and indifferent is really sad. In truth, maybe it saddens and haunts her at night, so much so that she cries alone under the blankets. But still, you're by another woman's side." As Lisa stated this, she lowered her eyes to hide them. Her long lashes were like half-open sandal with fans that delicately veiled her lovely eyes. Her porcelain white face was shaded with bitterness, and her sadness was like a murmuring stream that gradually inundated that pair of normally clear and brilliant eyes. She smiled, yet although her brow bent, it made one feel compassionate and protective towards her. She seemed to be talking about Emily, but she herself began to get burdened down with sorrow. As James glanced into her eyes, he felt slightly bitter for some reason. He kept feeling like she was not talking about Emily, but about herself. James could not help but scowl and reply, "You don't need to be concerned about matters between me and Emily." Lisa snorted and stared at James. "Indeed, all men are bad, HMPH. James scowled at her before standing up and heading out. She really was a heartless woman. However, his brow still furrowed up. He realized that something was up with her, and he wanted to know what exactly had happened to her. In the study room, he gazed at Ethan. "How's your search coming along?" Ethan added, "Sir, although I don't know if this is what you're looking for, it seems that the Carter family's eldest daughter Olivia and the Reed family's young master Ryan are getting engaged this weekend." Ryan, was that the man who she had always liked? James' brow wrinkled deeply. The melancholy expression on his face was deeply covert. Sure enough, she was not talking about Emily and him earlier, but about that man. Could it be that she was still unhappy over that man? James did not know why he felt even more uneasy. Every day, She was on the bed and always slept sooner than him. Yet she still had the nerve to remark that she tossed and turned at night, while crying under the blanket. He did not know why he started to feel more and more upset. He gestured at Ethan to leave. Ethan said, "Sir?" Then, "Get out," shocked. Ethan floundered and left frantically. Although Lisa did not want to go, her wrath did not evaporate from thinking about it. It became more evident when she thought about how Hannah had purposely provoked her. While she recognized that she had done it on purpose, Lisa still could not help but fall for it. Thus, Lisa decided to attend the ceremony to have a look. She attempted to borrow a formal dress through the firm, and when Sarah heard that she required it to go to Olivia's wedding, she instantly and graciously volunteered to assist by her a decent piece, because Olivia was, after all, a celebrity. Her wedding with Ryan was a hot topic for a considerable number of people. It was likely that quite a few media sources will be there on that day. They might take advantage of the circumstance and embrace the opportunity for exposure. Of course, Sarah was really thrilled. On the day of the engagement, the skies were boundlessly clear. However, Lisa's mood was instead so downcast that it looked to have touched rock bottom. She got to the engagement place in a car, and when she alighted, she observed a few enormous words dazzling brightly at the spectacular and luxurious entrance of the hotel. The words were, "May Olivia and Ryan live a long and happy life together." A long and happy life together. Swallowing her bitterness, she told herself not to look at him again and not to think about him again after today. He was no longer going to be the youth she dreamed of in her early years, but someone else's fiancé. Chapter 40. How could you just provoke Nathan? Lisa was still seated in the wheelchair, laughing dryly and not knowing how to answer these inquiries. She did not expect to meet reporters here. She donned a blue formal dress that was somewhat off-shoulder in a sling design, natural yet generous. It made her look incredibly fresh and attractive. Her hair was wrapped up high, showing her neck with gorgeous delicate lines. Emily fumed with wrath. She was positive that Lisa was doing this on purpose. She still dared to pretend that she had no interest in Ryan. At last, security withheld the media, and Lisa was finally permitted to go in. She saw Emily wearing a festive outfit immediately. It was as if she just had to wear every valuable thing she possessed in order to show off her wealth. Glaring at Lisa, she remarked, "Hey, you claimed it was inconvenient for you to walk. Didn't I tell you that you didn't have to come?" Lisa snorted. "Oh, did you? But how can I not come to my sister's engagement?" Emily said. "Look at you, you pitiful thing. The instant you came, you immediately stole the attention of the reporters. Of course, with you in a wheelchair, it's not hard to notice." Was Emily indicating that Lisa purposefully sat in a wheelchair to attract attention? Lisa was too lazy to explain. She giggled as she sat in her wheelchair. "I didn't expect reporters to be here, stepmother. You guys made the event such a huge thing that it drew the reporters. Thanks to Olivia's engagement, I have the opportunity to get my own headline. Isn't that what you said? That I would have my own headline." Emily had certainly told Lisa that, but it was sarcasm. Little did she know that the reporters not only knew Lisa, but they had a genuine interest in her. Naturally, Emily had overestimated Nathan's influential position. Any gossip about him undoubtedly lingered long. "Very well. You're right. Since your sister is so famous, it's only proper for her to look after you." She could only say this while glaring at Lisa, thinking that no matter what, the star of today was Olivia. After a while, she arranged for Lisa to be in a corner where no one would notice her or allow her to seize the spotlight. At that moment, Ryan strolled out from a distance. In an all-white suit, Ryan looked particularly immaculate today. He was today's male lead, so naturally, he was like Prince Charming. As soon as he emerged, everyone's eyes were pulled to him. Being a scion of the Ryan family, he grew up with a golden spoon in his mouth. He was meant to be a winner in life ever since he was born. Today, he was getting engaged with the beautiful, sexy, and famous Olivia. It sparked jealousy among many. Lisa noticed Ryan from afar and thought about how good he actually looked. She couldn't stop looking at him and felt him peek over too. She immediately recovered with a bitter heart. One last glimpse, one last glance. It was a tragedy that he had to be with Olivia. If it was someone else, giving her blessings would have been a lot simpler. But she was apprehensive because it was Olivia. How could she give her genuine congratulations when Ryan spotted Lisa? His eyes lit up, and he felt a little uncomfortable. She was in a wheelchair, but she still looked so stunning. She seemed to look even lovelier than the last time he saw her, even if it was not long before. It was as if she was a butterfly still metamorphosing in her chrysalis, becoming more lovely by the day. One day, she was finally going to burst out of her shell. Then, he heard someone exclaim from the side, "Isn't that Lisa?" "Lisa? Who is that?" "It's the rumored girlfriend of Nathan, though." "So that's her. Was she not just being sensational?" "Yes, the news has died down. But she looks way better in real life than on TV." Ryan narrowed his eyes to look and thought that she certainly looked nicer in real life. However, his heart still felt uneasy when he thought of the whispers between her and Nathan. He assumed that the stories should have gone soon and never expected them to still be making ripples. At that moment, the engagement banquet was due to start soon. Ryan was about to find Lisa when Olivia appeared from a distance. Olivia wore a white gown that made her look like a pristine angel. Ryan grinned and went to her. The engagement banquet was commencing soon. The exquisite engagement luncheon was a demonstration of the strength of the Ryan family and the Carter family. The joining of the two families was definitely not a small matter. With so many reporters around, they had no space for flaws. Lisa, who was told to sit at a corner, gazed ahead at Ryan and Olivia. The couple was standing in the front and were taking well wishes from the guests. Ryan looked at Olivia adoringly and could not help but be moved. Holding Olivia's hand, he continued, "I will treat you well forever." Olivia was brought to tears. The warm and endearing engagement was like a perfect fairy tale. Meanwhile, Lisa was merely an inconspicuous supporting role in the story. Although she sat there with a bitter heart, she had already accepted it. During the engagement, Ryan only had eyes for Olivia. When all was over and Olivia went for an interview, Ryan suddenly remembered that he had not met Lisa. After searching the area, he finally found her in a corner. Ryan walked towards Lisa and smiled at her. He looked at her dress and thought that she was becoming more and more feminine. "Lisa, why are you hiding so far away?" he asked. Lisa looked at Ryan and laughed, silently thinking that she had not chosen this spot. Her stepmother was the one who had made her sit there. Then again, even in the Carter family, she was insignificant. It was no surprise that her stepmother would put her there. Ryan looked at Lisa and said, "I wanted to ask what was going on." "About that rumor between you and Nathan," Lisa replied quietly. "Why would you pay attention to that too?" Ryan said with a smile. "Even if I didn't want to. I was getting bombarded by the news every day." Lisa laughed embarrassingly. "Those are merely rumors." Ryan replied, "I do hope so. However, you best remain far away from that dude. I have told you that he is not that simple." Lisa remarked, "I barely know him. He's just a friend. And it's nothing like what was described in the article." Ryan listened and nodded. "That's good to hear. I'm only scared that it would not be good if a stupid lady like you was cheated." Lisa could only smile cruelly. Yes, she was silly. Just then, Richard thought to observe Lisa and Ryan speaking pleasantly together from afar. His brows furrowed. This Lisa is becoming more brazen these days. What would people think if they saw her talking with her brother-in-law in such a manner? Richard unabashedly walked over to them, smiling at Ryan. He said politely, "Let me have a word with Lisa." It was a God-given right for a father to speak with his daughter, so naturally, Ryan immediately stood up. "Oh sure, uncle. You two enjoy your chat." Once Ryan left, Richard's face darkened. "Lisa, what is going on with you? How did you end up having rumors with Nathan?" "Nathan again." Lisa laughed coldly and replied to her father, "They were just rumors." "What's wrong?" Richard's face immediately stiffened by her attitude. "What's wrong? You tell me what's wrong. I gave you the chance to marry, but you turned it down and offended the Smith family, leaving us to clean up your mess. You know how much the Smith family has. You ran away and provoked people. I know you want to be famous, but Nathan is not someone to be trifled with seriously. Just for fame, you're willing to do anything. One day, you will pay for it and only then will you regret it."